Welcome everyone to the July community meeting. Hopefully you have better weather than we have here. It's crazy hot in Spain right now, but super excited to be here. If this is the first time that you are joining these meetings, hope that you enjoy it. And let me just walk you through a bit on what's our typical agenda. So we like to start by giving some generic numbers on our community, how we are interacting with people, what's the growth in Slack, GitHub, and any other channel that we have here in the project. And today we have a very special guest. We have Bino from Aspire, and he's going to basically explain us their journey with OpenMetadata. So hopefully you'll find that super interesting. We then have Imri that it's going to introduce us a new data quality test for data difference. And then both Pablo and Mayur, they are going to jump with the data insights rework that we are doing and an awesome new feature that we are rolling out in Collate. And before the Q&A, we have a nice surprise that James is going to be presenting to us. So please hope that you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please use the chat so that we don't lose the thread during the explanation. We can keep answering any questions in there, and we'll try to make sure that at the end we can just put a few minutes so that you can unmute yourselves, ask any questions about the meeting, and we can have a bit more chatty interaction with all of you that are here. So thanks again for joining, and let's jump straight into the community stats. We keep growing the open source developers, which is awesome. We really like when you go and pick up any issues, we do new implementations, or even if there's not an open issue and there's something that you see that you would like to fix, it's awesome to see all of these PRs and all of these contributions that keep making OpenMetadata better. So thank you for that. And this last month, it was awesome growth from our GitHub stars. We went to more than 400 stars in one single month, which is awesome. This is actually something that we cannot do without all of you, without your support. So if anyone here has yet to start the project, please do so. We are going to put the link to the GitHub project in the channel as well. This is one of the easiest and fastest ways that you can do in order to help us spread the word into the project and make sure that it reaches more people and more companies, and we can help everyone work better with data and metadata. If also you're not in Slack, that's the best way for you to interact with us. If you have any questions, any feature requests, or you would just like to share your feedback about the product, that would be the best way. We are all day, every day interacting with our community. It's great having you there. So if you have yet to join, we're going to put the link to Slack in the chat as well. And finally, if you don't want to miss any updates about new releases, new meetups, who is going to present in the community spotlight, and you would like to get as excited as we are for all of these upcoming events that we have planned, please follow us on Twitter, follow us on the meetup group so that you can already start planning on when we can meet next. In terms of metrics, we are in a very healthy and steady growth on PRs, averaging between 50 and 60 PRs merged every week. This is one of the fastest growing open source products that are out there in metadata management. So super excited to see not only the work that the team is doing, but also all of your collaborations from the community. And going back into this Slack topic, we are way past the barrier of 100 support questions per week. We are almost now every week closer to the 150 questions. We are super happy to interact with you. We're super happy to make you successful. And if you have also been playing with the product for some time and you would like to chip in, you would like to help any other community members, we would be super, super grateful if you would like to interact in there. And we added this new graphic for the first time on this community where you can also see this increasing trending line on the Slack posts that we are having per month, since also the community is growing in there. So again, if you are not in Slack, please make sure that you are joining there and we can keep having discussions about the product, about the community, about anything that we can help you with. Also, thank you very much for the community contributors. Some of them are new, some of them are repeated. all and every PRs are super welcome, from fixing typos into adding new secrets manager, adding new connectors and whatnot. Thank you very much for all of this effort, for helping us grow the product together. So don't be shy. If you would like to start your open source journey, you are not really quite sure how, or what the approach to take, we are super happy to help you with it. And we are super happy to see how you're getting more and more involved with the product. So thank you very much to all of our community contributors for this month. And that being said, I'm going to pass the word to Binol. So please, if you want to share your screen, thanks again for the time, and hope you all find the presentation super exciting.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pierre. Let me take it from here. Let me quickly share my screen. Hope you can see my screen. Sorry.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Pierre, for passing the mic to me. I'll be talking a little bit about what is Aspire. We'll be going through a little bit about our challenges at Aspire. I have to put a shameless plug about what Aspire does and uh, what are we doing, and how did our journey of searching for the tool which fits our right in our ecosystem. I'll also walk through some of our data quality framework and table certifications. This might be very useful for people in their journey who want to bring back data trust or to build stakeholder confidence within your teams or companies. And then we'll go into some learnings, and then we'll close this. There'll not be any surprise quizzes at the end. It's just pure data sharing, just for the good of the community. So yeah, a little shameless plug about our company, Aspire. We are based out of Singapore. We've been the fastest growing companies in 2023, top global fintechs. We've had a lot of cloud online. We are supported by Sequoia, DST Global, PayPal, Y Combinator, and we closed and oversubscribed 100 million CDC at end of 2023. And then we also hit our profitability macro because of the macro factors. All of them had the pressure to turn profitable. So we are now profitable, not using a lot of venture capital money. And this has been our journey from Southeast Asia to going beyond Asia Pacific and then soon to the world. In terms of what we do, we handle everything in terms of solutions from multi-currency management, from payables, receivables. So if you think of you having a finance team, think of everything they do, we automate everything. So from streamlining your payables, receivables, to syncing it to your bills, and also having cards, issue cards to your employees, all of this can be done from a single all-in-one platform. Think of us more like a Swiss Army knife, but more for your finances, but without the tiny, hard-to-use scissors, which comes with the Swiss Army knife. Yeah, so enough of my company. I think we'll be heading more towards, hey, what were our challenges? How did we go about it? All of these, I think all of us at some point or moment of time have had these challenges. So for us, it's a very specific challenge. We were a small company which grew very fast, which means our data ecosystem, our data grew very fast. And a lot of the things which initially tools and systems were expensive, where we were doing everything on Google Sheets, things were outdated. And when it comes to documentation or cataloging, it's always a two-way problem where if there is no enough documentation, there is no enough consumption. If there is no enough consumption, there is no more documentation. So this sort of kept on happening, and we had to figure out what is our right way to put all the data in one place, single place for everybody to know. Where do we keep our data lineage. And one of the biggest other part which we wanted to also bring back was stakeholder trust. We had a lot of questions every single time who used our data. It could be in our database or it could be in our dashboards saying, hey, can you check if the data is right? I think there's something weird. And a lot of this was a hamper to getting the trust of saying, hey, are we actually doing what we're doing, or is there something which breaks every single time? So we are not reactive after the issue happens. So we wanted to build also a data quality framework in parallel as well. So which I'll be talking a little more about in detail. So I think, so you'll see, so these are a lot of our internal questions. So like people from the data team, people from external data team who use our data resources, who used to ask us, hey, who owns this table? How can I trust the data in this table? Where do I get this information from? It sort of felt like we're always playing a game saying, hey, where's Waldo, but with data tables. So it was very hard to answer this basic data user questions. And we were like, hey, how do we go and find this? So before we go to like our tooling or solution, I just want to give a small overview of our data ecosystem. So you might be very different from us because our frameworks are very small and not still in the big data ecosystem. We have a lot of disparate data sources, and since we are a fintech, we are under a lot of regulations, which means we work with a mixture of cloud and on-premise data, and with the complexity of multiple countries and different regulations in Southeast Asia. And that means we have to work with a lot of data sources, which can be in many different places, and getting them all together. So our data sources come from many different places: SQL, Redshift, S3, SFTP locations, and tools. And our data platform is mostly comprised of three big parts, which is a managed Airflow, a DBT testing framework, and Airbyte for most of our CDC syncing with our databases. And in terms of destinations, it's the most common one in terms of going to Tableau, showing to G Sheets, S3 locations, or third-party tools. So it's an orchestra of all the diverse tools which are interconnected and woven to make data showcase. So with this in mind, I think I'll go more into how we went and chose our evaluation, right? So just for, I think, competition's sake, I'm not going to name what are the tools, but we wanted to go and see what is a tool which fit our needs, and how can we put and see what works in our use case. And we were very surprised to see OpenMetadata in one of these bigger jungles of data quality, data cataloging, and a lot of CI/CD integration. Every tool out there were focused on very different nuances and things. But OpenMetadata sort of fit us very rightly in some of the key criteria in terms of data quality. We were already using DBT, so it was good to integrate our DBT tests back into OpenMetadata. We wanted a single command center. We didn't want, a lot of the tools were focused on detecting and alerting, but didn't have a framework for alerting, for analysis and fix. And we saw that, I think the incident manager and being able to assign it to a person and move it through different statuses was a great addition to OpenMetadata. And these were some of our things which helped us decide on this. Of course, the Slack community and the GitHub stars, of course, these are old numbers as of Q3. Of course, you've gone much more than this, but this was also one of our key criteria which helped us choose OpenMetadata. And this happened at the end of last year. Of course, this was all done by my wonderful team who we'll be introducing later. And I was mostly shown to this, and I was sort of a judge on a reality show to choose which one is the the platform we had to choose. And we're very happy with what we went. So from now on, you'll be seeing a little bit of name of Bifrost. So we, in our company, we don't want to call dashboards, or we don't want to call frameworks or things. So we name everything under AI Marvel characters. So it could be Jarvis, it could be Tesseract, it could be Ultron, it could be X number of things we use to call our dashboards. And that's how we speak within the company. And we wanted to come up with a name for OpenMetadata, white label to us. So we call it internally Bifrost, which is the portal used in Marvel between the universes. So this is our portal to our data universe. This is the place of our pointing us to always in the right direction without getting lost. So this is, so down the line in any of the slides, when I refer Bifrost, I always mean OpenMetadata, but it is white labeled in our instance as Bifrost, and that is what is called within our company. I think I don't want to elaborate much more on the positioning of Bifrost. I think it's self-explanatory. I will go next on what OpenMetadata or Bifrost helped us in the pillars. These are the four big pillars we wanted to drive. Discoverability, understandability, building trust, and then also use OpenMetadata or Bifrost for governance. So I'll first focus a little more on discover and understand. I think it's very self-explanatory. Anybody who has seen OpenMetadata or any data cataloging tool will always focus on these two. And this is the most simplest part in terms of metadata to do this. The second two, in terms of trust and governance, it's really important to see how it fits with your data ecosystem, with your team, with your processes. So I'll first walk through discover and understand, then I'll walk you through table certifications, and then we go into trust and governance. So yes, so with Bifrost, we are able to turn data chaos into clarity. And if you see, the discover part of it is self-explanatory. We were able to build a search across tables, dashboards, pipelines, glossaries, and also discover who owns what data. Who owns what data, what columns are there. All of this was being able to be done at a single place. Of course, everybody knows this one. And previously, which was like finding a needle in a haystack, it's now was easy to find. It's like finding a haystack in a haystack, and it's everything sort of helped the team in building faster, reducing operational efficiencies, and have much more faster time to results with this. The second part is the understand pillar. Like, there was a lot of information which was in people's heads or was only be able to know if you had a chat with that person. And this especially happens when you have a very small data team and it's a centralized team. So we are a team of 10 to 15 people, and all of them have been at the company for 4 to 5 years, which is probably 80% of the company's lifetime. And all of it doesn't need to be documented because they have it in their head. But as we grow, a lot of these issues become, hey, a new joiner in the company is completely lost and they don't know how to understand table descriptions, sensitivity of the data. Where do I see sample data? Importance of a table? Is it a tier 1 table? What is the usage? So we put all of this together from tagging to descriptions to usage of this as a percentile within our things. And we are able to grow our understanding and also understand a lot of our lineage within our team. So that's a little bit about, I think, discover and understand. I will go a little bit off track on some data quality initiatives and then come back again to Bifrost because it's very important to understand where we were. Right? In terms of data quality, I'm sure when you're small, you always have these problems. You have a lot of issues reported by the stakeholders first, even before the data team discovers it, right? So we always had data issues in terms of the data creation. We had dates in our database which were even before the creation of the universe. So we had to fix them. So a lot of the times, trust was built bottoms up, and a lot of this trust was lost because because the stakeholders were asking questions and showing us obvious issues in our things. So before, we were more reactive and we had to fix. So we wanted to go to a level where we are more proactive in detecting issues. We are still not preventative yet. We wanted to be, okay, if the issue happens first, let us be the first people to know about it. And for that, we also worked on a data quality framework, and that's what I was initially referring to. We saw a lot of frameworks which did detect and alert, but not a lot of them helped you in analyzing and fixing it. And that is where we want. So sometimes I tell to my team, observability without actionability is no observability at all. Right? You need to have a way to action upon what you observe. And if you don't have a framework for that, you generally end up in a place with a lot of alerts, a lot of data fatigue, alert fatigue, and you don't know what to do. So we had DBT testing. We started writing data quality tests. But as data quality test grew, we didn't know what was a good test and what was a bad test. Is an accuracy test better than a comprehensive? So how do we make this comprehensive? And that's where we launched our table certification process. So consider like this, we had to get our act together. So basically we went into Marie Kondoing our data into places. We went and saw, does it spark joy? Then keep it out. If it doesn't spark joy, then throw it out. And that's what we spent the last year building all of this from scratch. And then we had a data certification framework. Basically, there are two things of the data certification framework. One is what we call as certification level, and one is what we call as certification score. So what does this mean, right? So our certification level means that what is the quality of the tests written on this table. So every table will have to have, say, completeness test, integrity test, timeliness test, accuracy test, even understandability, which means has there been documentation done on it? Is that consistent with the source? There's a consistency test. There is a classification test. So all of this help to say, hey, is this a table verified in terms of the width of the test written? And the second one is the data quality score. So here we said, of all these tests written, are they running, are they passing and not failing? So which will tell you whether the data quality is good, moderate, or poor. And this sort of was integrated, certification level was integrated into Bifrost, and we were able to say a table is gold certified, silver certified, bronze certified. And you can see this, we use the custom properties of OpenMetadata to push this data quality standard and the data quality score. So which means, hey, a table is, you can see here, a table is gold certified because it has 3 accuracy tests, 8 completeness tests, 3 consistency tests, 3 integrity tests, and 1 timeliness test. And all of this was written in data in dbt, and we were able to sync this back into the data warehouse. Back into OpenMetadata. And then the same thing about data quality score. So now we say that there is 100% success rate of the data quality tests of the runs. So with this, we had a central command center for data quality with Bifrost. And that's how we did. We also accompanied this with a dashboard later to bring actionability and accountability. And this dashboard was something monitored over time. And this is a very old snapshot of how we see the growth of table certified and things. But with getting table certified and having data quality tests, all of this was very internal, right? And it's very hard for people to action upon data quality failures so that people can answer them. And for this, we started to certify dashboards using data labels. This was a Tableau one. So all the stakeholders who use the data, they can see a data quality warning right on their dashboard, right on top. So now this put the context of solving the data quality issues, a stakeholder problem, and a data analyst who's working with the stakeholder will get questions saying, hey, I have an alert on my screen. Can you fix this? So it solved the issue of alert fatigue and all of this. And over time, we were able to build this. Yeah, so coming back to the trust pillar, we have 6,000 tests written, and all of them have helped us in the data quality standard. We have helped in classification, tiering, and you can see the tags on the right, whether it's an internal, whether the data quality is gold, and it is certified kind of thing. And then we were able to govern at a single place in terms of understanding failures and being able to update the status at a single place. So all of this is thanks to OpenMetadata with being able to do all of this at a single place. So that's an end of where we were able to do. Just to give an idea of our framework of how long it took. So a lot of last year, Q3 and Q4 was going in tool comparison. So we spent time in figuring out what is the tool, what should be the scoping, and we started the basic work in this year, Jan. So by basic integration, I mean connecting to Redshift, connecting to Tableau, connecting dbt using OMD connectors, SSO using our Azure framework, staging, server provisioning. And then later in March, we went to the advanced integrations of our custom data quality framework, our pipeline lineage, upgrading to the new OpenMetadata versions, custom properties, and usage ingestion. Mid-April, we were able to roll out to the internal data teams. And at the end of April, we were able to roll out to the company-wide. And this is currently our numbers in terms of where we are. We have 6,000 plus tests, 1,700 tables, very small compared to an enterprise, but we were more happy to have this in place at the right time than to have problems and then think of we need a data cataloging tool. So it's OpenMetadata has been a game changer for us. It's sort of our secret sauce in our data burger. So we have a successful rollout to the data team. We have data tables quality certifications. We have lineage and logical test suites. We are experimenting with the incident manager to make more pipeline statuses and schema change alerts. This is in process. All of this was made possible by my wonderful team here. They're all the Avengers of our data. Each one is a superhero, but they just wear spreadsheets as their capes. So You can connect with us online if you have questions, or if you want to reach out, or if you want to just exchange ideas. We're always happy to learn from the community and also share what we know a little bit from our journey, so that you guys might not need to have similar issues in your journey. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us and things. I will probably end here. And I don't know whether we're able to take questions, or you can reach us out on LinkedIn as well. That's an end of my presentation. Over to you, Pierre.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Binal. This was super interesting. It's always great to see how you are integrating your own processes into open metadata. I think that this is testament of the extensibility and the powerful APIs and integrations that one can build. In terms of if anyone has questions for the Aspire team, feel free to either use the Zoom channel, or it actually might be easier to continue this kind of conversations in Slack if you have anything else that you would like to discuss with them. And we will upload this recording and the slides into to YouTube in case that you would like to take another look and dive deeper into this use case. Thanks again for presenting. Thanks again for the time. Great having you as part of the community. And with that being said, the next topic will be for Imri. So if you want to please share your screen, we can start with the table diff test.
Sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Imri Pran from Colette. I'm an engineer at Colette, and I'll be introducing a new table diff test in OpenMetadata. So let's do a small data quality recap. I mean, we had just an amazing example from Aspire, but we'll just go over the basics of it, make sure we're all on the same page. So out of the box, OpenMetadata provides a framework for writing data quality tests without any code. And data consumers can provide conditions on data sets within the platform. Data producers can, of course, define their own conditions, and everyone who's on the platform can just define their define data quality rules to follow. And this is how the general UI looks like. And so we have some examples. Let's think of some reasonable examples for data quality. I just wrote some that I have from my experience, or from seeing community users using the data quality. We have, for example, all zip codes are 5 digits between 10,000 and 100,000 and 99,000. A row count of a table is at least 100, for example, if you want a certain volume to be there. A value, a foreign key, a primary key, sorry, constraint, for example, order ID is unique. That's very common for data warehousing scenarios where primary keys are not constrained properly. Same thing for enums. So we want to define that a certain value is within a certain set. But there's one small problem here. If we look at all these examples, they're great. They all work on one table. So if we want to write a test case for one table, that works great. For 2 tables, we currently do not support this on OpenMetadata until today. So let's look at this scenario. For example, we have an engineering team who built a pipeline that takes orders. It runs to an API, for example, for tracking from the post, and updates the status and puts it in another table. So we have tables with updated. We have orders with updated statuses in the right table. And then a data analyst or a data scientist or some kind of consumer comes along and wants to validate that these orders are the same, except for the status, right? They didn't change the tracking number or the customer ID or the order date, only the status. Well, this is what we have. This is a good example for a table diff. And let's see it in action. So we have here the example of the orders table. This is an example. We can see the sample data. So we discovered it. We have the data here. We have the order ID, customer ID, the date, and then the status. And we have a process that takes these orders and updates the status. And here we have some of the statuses are changed, and some analyst comes along and wants to check if these are actually same except for the status. So we go to the data quality tab, and we create a new table diff. It's like this, and we'll choose the compare to table for differences. For the second table, we have here a drop down. We can just search for the process tables. And we need to choose a key column because this is what will essentially compare the two each rows upon. So we want to make sure that for the same order ID, the values did not change. And yeah, this is clear enough. We'll just add it. And we'll create a pipeline for it. And yeah, we'll run it here. And this takes about 20 seconds. So for now, we'll look at some other tests that I've written beforehand so you can see some other examples. So this is an example of a comparison to a customers table. This is, again, taking the orders table, but comparing it to customers. And the customer table has completely different schema. So of course, the table that fails with the metric about the columns, but essentially columns that were removed from the original table, which is the customers table, which is the orders table, sorry. And it's not completed yet. So we'll see that this one will fail in a minute. Longer than thought. It will fail in a minute. We will look at the test I ran beforehand just so we can see the results. So this will fail. We have 20 failing rows, 19 failing rows. And if you look at the sample data which is available on Collect, we can see that indeed the orders that this order, for example, was completed in the original row but is lost in the new row. So maybe there's some kind of mistake in the ETL process that updates it. But yeah, so this is the one I ran just now when we see that it's the same result with 19 mistakes. But as an analyst, I say, okay, I probably configured the test wrong, right? I need to see that. I need to ignore the test. So I have another example here of filtering the using only. So here I decided to use only a subset of the columns so that I won't actually compare the value of the test of the status. And we see here that the tests are passing because we're not comparing the columns which are changed. Another option is to filter out if I know for some reason there was a big some kind of backfill or something. I can maybe filter out the rows which I know have mismatching values. So in this case, I put a where clause and I filter out all the customer IDs that are divisible by 4. And this again creates a passing test because this is a condition that I ran beforehand when I created the processed orders table. And we can also define a certain threshold. And in this threshold, we do have failing rows, but the threshold is defined as 20. So only if we have more than 20 different rows, the test will fail. So let's do a small summary. So this is the table diff and will be available in OpenMetadata in the open source version from 1.5. It's already sandbox beta if you want to play around with it. It supports cross database, so we can also compare Postgres to MySQL, Redshift to BigQuery, Snowflake to any of those. Anything really, there's a nice set of connectors that support it, and it supports compare and cross them. It's going to be released with 1.5. It's useful for lots of scenarios. For example, comparing staging or development with production. If we have data that is living in both of these environments and want to compare them, or snapshots between clouds, between regions, again between environments. This is also something useful. If we have some ETL and we want to make sure that we're not losing any data after the process, or duplicating any data. That's also useful. And I think that's it. And I'll pass now to Pablo, I think, for data insights.
Yeah, thanks, Imre. Let me share. Give me a second. Are you able to see it, folks?
Yes, thanks.
Cool. Hello, I'm Pablo, and I've been working with OpenMetadata for around half a year. And I wanted to tell you about some changes that we're doing into Data Insights. But before getting into Data Insights itself, just wanted to also do a small recap. So as you know, OpenMetadata is centralizing all the metadata in one place. And with the help of our many connectors, we are able to ingest not only entities and descriptions, but also how they relate to each other through lineage, also how they are used. On the other side, we also have, for instance, glossary terms that allow us to add business content, enriching the information that we have already ingested. And having all this metadata in the same place actually enables us to unlock the total value of data by gathering insights and actually developing automation to manage it better. So for instance, while having proper descriptions allow us to understand what a given data asset is about. On the other hand, the data quality feature allows us to understand if it might be unreliable or not, like Vinod was showing earlier. And another pretty nice example is the recently released metadata actions that allows us to automate pretty tedious tasks. All this tooling, while valuable on its own as well, it also generates new data that allows us to have a better understanding of our data, no? And this is actually where Data Insights comes in, because it enables you to basically understand and take action on different aspects of this data, like ownership and documentation. Currently, it has 3 different modules. So you can see the data assets one that helps understand how ownership and documentation is evolving over time. You have the app analytics that shows the evolution of the platform adoption and its usage. And last but not least, the cost analysis that helps understand which assets are useful or wasteful by analyzing the usage and cost. It also allows you to define targets for 2 different KPIs at the moment, like the description coverage and ownership coverage, so you can track your evolution on those metrics. Zooming in a little bit into the data assets side of things, you can see, for instance, the organization health at a glance, where you have a summary of total data assets, the amount of which has description, owners, and tiers. You can also check some charts, like the total data assets broken by data asset type, the same broken by type, but the amount that has description or owners, and also dig in to explore it and maybe take action, maybe assigning a new ownership to a data asset that has none at the moment. But while this is cool, there are some limitations, no? For instance, what if we need to track different metrics? For instance, the quality of data over time, the amount of data assets without a given glossary term, or the percentage of incomplete data assets per team, where you define what incomplete means, no? These different metrics or needs might come from different personas in your organization. Like, for instance, the data leaders might like to know how many tier 1 tables are not covered with data quality or have been failing lately. On the other hand, the governance team might want to understand the most used glossary terms, or even a data asset owner or team might need a comprehensive overview of the data assets they own and their health, like, are they well documented? Do they have tests? Are the tests passing? And so on. And all this basically shows us that each organization and even different personas within the same organization might have completely different needs. So with this in mind, we actually started working on changing our approach to data insights. And it all started with how we actually process and store the data that feeds those insights. So in the current flow, we have an external pipeline that fetches the data from OpenMetadata, transforms it and aggregates it. and sends it back. No, then the server also syncs it to Elasticsearch. Now, what we're doing is, instead of having an external pipeline, we have a background pipeline in the server that runs and fetches the data from the database, transforms and enriches it if needed, not aggregating it, and then store it into Elasticsearch. And this, we basically based on 3 different concepts for this. The first one is that we wanted to keep that transformation minimal, because this enables us to be actually faster iterating and decreases the cost of maintainability. The second one is for sure keeping the server as the source of truth. And the main game changer is actually delegating the aggregating responsibility to Elasticsearch. And this last point actually will enable our collate users to define their own aggregations. But even though this last feature is a collate-only feature, we can see other benefits as well. For instance, for open source, we're really happy with the refactor, since faster iterations means that we will be able to deliver an update on the default charts much more easily. And we're also already working on backfilling possibilities that currently are not available. So maybe if the pipeline didn't run a given day, you'll have a missing data point. We hope to solve that and allow you to backfill it. And well, for Collate, the exciting part is that you will be able to have customizable data insights. And for the fun part of it, I'll actually let Mayur show you how it is going to look and demo it. So Mayur, the floor is yours.
Sure.
Thanks, folks.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Thanks, Pablo, for the wonderful introduction. So let's start. What do we currently have with our data insight? And then let's jump on to what we have built. So, for example, for this table, I can see I have a lot of metadata. So I have description, I have column descriptions, some tags, glossary terms. I may have some queries, custom properties assigned to a table or any data assets within OpenMetadata. The current flow that we have is we have this data insights page where, as Pablo showed, you can see the total data assets, percentage of assets with description and ownership. This revolves around ownership and descriptions. But let's say within your organization, you want to have something which is custom. So, for example, data leaders may want to know about the data assets tagged with a tier. So tier is a critical, shows you how critical the data asset is to the organization. So let's see this in action. So in the previous version, you would see only these 4 options, but with the upcoming version, you'll see there is a add dashboard button. So let me start with creating a dashboard, just naming it demo. And here you will be getting the option to create a chart. We already see this chart where it shows that the number of data assets currently I have in my Collate instance. So let's say I have around 260 assets, and I want to see how many assets are tagged with a tier. So I'll just copy this formula. So this formula is how you can customize it. So for example, I am just counting the data assets where I have a tier assigned. So you can see this is I have only 3 tables which are assigned to a tier, which is already pretty bad. Let's say I want to calculate a percentage of this over the total number of assets. So here you can write a mathematical formula of calculating a percentage. This may not be just calculating percentage, but it can be up to your use case. So for example, around 1% of data assets are assigned with a tier. Now, let's say I want to go even more advanced and I want to see the tier percentage by the number of by the users. So now I can see the breakdown of the tier percentage by users. So for example, admin and test user have their data assets, which they own the data asset, are only 50% assigned with a tier, whereas Ulysses has 100% of his data asset tagged with a tier. So now a data leader would know that I can reach out to, let's say, test user and ask him to document the tiers within his own data assets. Now, this could be one of the use cases. Let's look at another scenarios. So, for example, within a data asset, we also maintain custom properties, business, for example, business owner, department, and many more. Currently, there is no way of seeing analytics based on the custom properties, but with this custom dashboard, it will be possible to see such analysis. For example, I would go back to the function, and instead of finding out uh, instead of grouping by the owner, what I'll do is I have an extension and which is called demo. So again, this is a sample data, but in your example, it can be business owner, it can be another data, it can be another custom property that you are maintaining. But I can already see a distribution of the data assets divided by the custom property, and there are many more possibilities with this. So for example, we also plan to introduce filters based on queries where you can plot the charts based on the query analysis run times of the queries and many other things. We also plan to include data qualities, number of tests a table has, and many more such things. So this would conclude my demo. If you have any questions, then we can take that at the end. And I would pass the mic to James.
All right, thank you. I think we're coming to the tail end of our presentation today. But it's been great hearing from from Spire and what they've been able to do with data quality, as well as some of these new things, new data diff tests, as well as new insights dashboards, so we can get a lot of visibility into what OpenMetadata can offer for your data. So one final plug, just to showcase one more thing that we've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and share screen, but all of you can also see this for yourselves. We've recently just launched a brand new website for OpenMetadata. The little run was getting a little long for the tooth, but we wanted to refresh it to reflect a lot of the things that we've been hearing from the community about how, as we said at the start of the presentation, people have come to OpenMetadata not just for discoverability, but also for their quality and observability and for governance, and really providing a unified solution to everyone in the community. So we've been really grateful for the support of the community, how we've been able to grow, really show ourselves with a lot of different deployments, code contributors, open source communities, as well as within the GitHub, our repo. I think we really wanted to reflect that we're a unified offering built for modern data teams, but still really simple to use. We've been architected from the ground up to be open source, open standards, easy to set up, operate, deploy, and upgrade. Again, designed for all the different use cases you may have for your teams, with a huge ecosystem of integrations. You can't really centralize your data across your entire data estate unless you have an easy way to connect all your data into OpenMetadata, so you can get a full view across everything that you have. So we've been a lot of investment from the community to build a lot of these turnkey connectors, in addition to the APIs that we have to get your data into OpenMetadata. As always, you can get started very easily. Just go ahead and deploy and get started. We also have a live sandbox with live demo data that you've actually seen as part of our demo today. We've also released a new free SaaS offering. So Collate, one of the companies happening to back OpenMetadata, we have a free managed OpenMetadata offering with a lot of the features as well as some additional extensions to make OpenMetadata and Collate more powerful and easy to use for all your different data teams. Now, we've been grateful for a lot of different organizations that use OpenMetadata. You can hear some of the stories here, in addition to the Aspire story that you heard today, as well as more resources. So as part of telling the story, we've refreshed our OpenMetadata website. And next week, we're actually hoping to post up on Hacker News. This will be actually our first time sharing OpenMetadata to the Hacker News community. You've been very heads down, working on feature development, putting out new capabilities. So it's about time we've actually shared the story in a bit of a broader sense. So roughly this time next week, roughly around 9 a.m. on Wednesday, we'll be posting up on Hacker News, sort of doing a show Hacker News, some of the stuff that the team's been putting together. If you're open to it, we'd love to get your support to help share the story of OpenMetadata to other data teams out there. With that, let me pass the baton back to Prey.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, James, and thanks a lot, Imri, Pablo, Mayur, for the presentation. I always get super excited when we're seeing all of these nice new features that we keep pushing out. So I think that we still have 5 more minutes. So right on time. If you have any questions here on the screen, you can also see all of our links to start the project in GitHub, follow us on Slack, on Twitter, or if you want to learn a bit more on all of these offerings that James was just talking about on Collate, those are the right links. And put the date on your calendar on when we're going out with these Hacker News, because that's going to be a very exciting moment for us. So the word is yours. Don't be shy. If you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and we can dive a bit deeper on the topics that we discussed in this meeting.
Hi, good evening.
Hello,
Do you
good
hear me?
evening. Yes, we can.
Firstly, I would like to thank you all of you for the presentations. All was very helpful and all explained a lot of questions. I have asked one question that can I assign a user to a domain that this user only use the data and see the data from this domain. I have got a question, but I have second question from this question. It has been mentioned that it will be possible at next version to be able to restrict a user to use another domain. I would like to know, is there an exact time for the publish for next version, or there is not an exact time? Because we are planning to upgrade our version. We are using OpenMetadata, and I would like to wait until the next version because I will need it exactly.
So the current estimate for the next release, which will be the 1.5, and as you said, in there we're going to have this RBAC control for domains as well. The idea is end of July or beginning of August, depending on how we are able to wrap up all of these different features that we were showcasing here. Also, if you have any, if any of you have any other questions about, especially about domains and whatnot, because I saw a couple of interactions in there, it's usually a bit easier to handle them on Slack because we can get some screenshots, and that's kind of a big framework to plan with. So it might actually be easier if today, or at least now, we stick with any questions that maybe you have for the Aspire team on how they are using OpenMetadata in their organization, or any other questions that you would have about this data difference test, about the data insights or whatnot.
Thank you very much for the explanation.
Awesome. Thanks, Umit.
Hi, yeah. I have a question. It's regarding one of the items in the roadmap, Metapilot. So that Metapilot is currently on Collate, the managed version. are there any plans to allow like plugins for Gen AI apps into the open source version?
Hey, Oliver. So yeah, thanks for asking. As you said, the Metapilot integration, I mean, you can play with that in the sandbox. So if you are curious about that, we are able to have this SQL copilot where it basically helps you translate natural language into SQL queries. It will also help you auto-generate like descriptions for your tables and for your columns based on the metadata that you have in there. But these features are specifically tailored for our SaaS offering of Collate. However, everything and anything that we are building on OpenMetadata, all of that is backed by our metadata scheme and the APIs, right? And all of these building blocks, like regardless if it's the Metapilot, if it's the data insights, all of that starts just by having this framework where we can ingest the metadata from your different systems, and we can start putting into context, as Pablo and Mayur were explaining in the beginning, how important is your data from the tags or the lineage of the data, the quality tests and whatnot. So if you are planning to prepare any of these AI tooling, there is actually nothing that is stopping you today, because you can just make sure that you are using the Open Metadata APIs or the Python SDK to extract all of these ingredients that Open Metadata will help you prepare, and then just create your own ETLs, LLMs, whatever process you need to add on top of that, and tailor it into your use cases. So Metapilot itself, the idea right now.
Just to address the original
Yeah.
question here. Just a second. So the application framework is where we bring in all of these add-ons and plugins, and not just through the APIs. I think if your question is about, hey, can I build my own application? The answer is yes. We are working on making those application interfaces more cleaner, easier to use. So expect by 1.6, you should have much more cleaner application interface where you can build all of these applications right within Open Metadata. If you choose to build your own LLM and all of these things, you can do so through the application interface.
Yeah, thanks, Per and Shriyasha, for sharing.
Awesome. Thanks, Oliver. Thanks, Harsha. I think that we are on time, but maybe we can take a couple of more minutes for one last question. Awesome. So thanks a lot for everyone for joining. Thanks for your attention. Thanks again to Binol and the Aspire team for the presentation, and for Mayur, Pablo, and Imri for showing us these features. If you still have any questions, feel free to jump into Slack and we can continue the conversation there. And we'll upload this recording and the community meeting, everything, all of the material into YouTube in case that you need to take another look and share it with your peers. Thanks a lot, and see you on the next one. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Bye.